Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are going to be making this beautiful palazzo pant with roach on the lower part. So I'm going to be attaching a rope on the lower part to make it a roach palazzo pant. So I have folded my fabric into two using my hip measurement plus 2 inches extra, and I'm just marking my waistline measurement. I marked half an inch on that point and I'm going to connect it with my straight ruler, and all the measurements will be starting from that point that I marked. From the waistline I marked 9 inches downwards, which is my hip line, and I marked 11 inches for my crotch. So if you don't know your crotch measurement, just measure 2 inches from your hip line. That will be your crotch line. So after that I connected my points with a straight ruler, and I'm just going to get the full length for this trouser. This is totally dependent on what you want, how long you want your trouser to be, and your body measurement. Okay, after that on the hip line I'm going to mark my hip measurement divided by 4 right there. I'm going to mark that same measurement on the crotch line, my hip measurement divided by 4, and on the waistline as well I'll mark my hip measurement divided by 4. I'm going to connect the 3 points I just made now with my straight ruler. So now I have that straight line. On the waistline I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4. Notice how I placed my measuring tape, and I added half an inch for seam allowance. So I measured from the hip line I made down to the side of the trouser, not from the side to the hip line I made. So I connected the waistline down to the hip measurement with a curved line, and on the hip line I'm going to extend my measurement by 1.5 inches. On the crotch line I extended my measurement by 1.5 inches, and on that point where the hip line and the crotch line meets I'm coming up by 1 inch, and I'm going to connect that extension 1.5 extension I made on the crotch line down to the 1 inch I marked. I'm going to connect that point into the hip line like so. So now we have the hip curve, the crotch curve for our front panel of the pants. So on the hemline I'm going to mark 8 inches. This totally depends on how wide you want the leg, how wide you want the opening of your pants to be. Okay, so I'm just going to connect that measurement from the hip line down, from the crotch line down to the hemline of those trousers. If you see the hemline, you would notice that I added 2 inches for hem allowance, as you can see on the lower part. So you can also do that for yours, and after marking all of the measurements I'll just cut this out. So that's basically it on the front pattern. Here you see we have the 2 pieces for the front. I'm going to use this front part to cut the back. So you are going to place your front on the back panel. Make sure you leave some space on the upper part, and on the crotch line I'm going to go down by half an inch from the front pattern, and I extended the crotch for the back by 1 inch. Okay, sorry, I extended by 1.5 inches, and I'm going to mark half an inch on the crotch line like so, and I'm going to connect it. I'm going to keep marking half an inch from the, I'm going to extend the crotch by half an inch on that point. As you can see, it's very easy. This thing I'm doing is 1 inch extension on the side, and on the upper part I just marked 1 inch as well. Okay, and I added it to that half an inch I marked on that point, and I'm going to connect this slantly to meet the waistline of the front panel. Okay, so I'm trying to modify the front panel to get the back pants part of our pants. Okay, so on that crotch line I extended the crotch for the back by 1.5, and on the side for the back panel I'm going to extend that point by 1 inch. Okay, so I'm just extending that side. This place I marked 1 inch on the side, but on the crotch line I marked 1.5. So I'm going to mark this 1 inch from that point down to the hemline of the trouser. I hope that is clear enough. So on this side like this I extended the back panel by 1 inch. On the crotch line I extended it by 1.5 inch, and on this crotch line, this upper part for when the crotch starts, I extended by half an inch. Okay, it's very easy. Just do what I'm doing if you don't understand it totally. So after doing all of that, I just cut out my panel. So now I have the front and the back panels for my pants. So I'm just going to label it. This is the back. I've removed the front. This is the back, the two back panels. Okay, so I'm going to place these back panels together, and I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch on the crotch. That part where I extended by half an inch, I'll just stitch it like so, and I'm going to do the same for the back as well. Just stitch on the crotch. So after doing that, this is what I have for the back panel. Okay, and this is what I have for the front panel of this pant. So what I want to do is to place the two right sides facing each other. Then from the crotch line, I'm going to stitch from the inside. So I'm going to stitch the front and the back panels together from the inside, leaving the side seams open. Remember, I told you I'm going to add a roach on the hem, on the leg of the trouser. So I'm just going to stitch in on the inseam. After stitching the inseam, as you can see, the side is still open. This is what I have. Now I'm going to show you how you can make the roach to make it tight. I'm going to insert a picture of what I'm talking about for you to see. Okay, so this is what I have for my trouser. You can decide to hem it at this point. You can decide not to hem it, but it's better you don't hem it now, because I still had to remove the hemming. Okay, so from that point, I'll just mark 8 inches upwards. From the hem line, I'll mark 8 inches upwards, and I'm going to connect that point with my straight ruler. So this is where the roach is going to start from. This is where I'm going to be adding fabric to make a roach. So from the side, I'll go in by 1 inch from the two sides. Remember, I added half an inch for seam allowance for this pant, so I went in by 1 inch, and whatever I have in between, I'm going to measure. Mine, I have 15 inches. Okay, so what I did was to cut out this strap that is measuring 16 inches. Okay, so this is measuring 16 inches by 1.5 inch. Okay, 16 inches, and I'm going to make sure the side is well trimmed. So I'm just cutting the excess I have on the sides. So after cutting it, I have 16 inches. Remember, what I have on the trouser is 15 inches. So by the time I hem the sides, close the two sides, and stitch, I'll have the exact 15 inches I need to create the casing for the roach. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and stitch this to the pant. Because we are going to do it on the two sides of the pant, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Okay, but I didn't show you how I did for the back because I already showed you for the front. Okay, so I have stitched the two sides. I've stitched the extension to the pants. Okay, from the inside, this is what I have, and from the outside, this is what I have. This is the casing where I'm going to be passing the fabric I made through. So I'm just going to close the sides using my half an inch seam allowance I added. Okay, so I'll take it to the sewing machine now, and I'm going to stitch on the two sides. So remember, I went in by 1 inch. So by the time I stitch half an inch, I'm not going to close the casing I made for the rope to pass through. So the next thing I want to do is to attach a zipper to my pants. So this is the zipper I'm going to be attaching. I also cut out a strap for my waistband. Okay, so this thing you're seeing is measuring 4 inches. By the time I fold it in, I have 2 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach this to the waist. Right after I do that, I'll attach the zipper. Okay, Then I also cut out these 2 straps that I'm going to use for the rope to pass through the casing I made. So I'm just going to stitch it like this. You can decide to stitch and turn it in, but I just did not stitch it. I just stitched it from the back. So this is what I have. You can make your rope as long as you want, but I decided not to make mine very long. Okay, so now I've attached the waistband and the zipper. As you can see, the zipper is intact. So I also stitched the rope I told you about. I'm just going to use my safety pin. I'm going to secure it, and I'm going to pass it through the casing I made on the leg of the pants. So from the opening, I'm just going to insert it through until it comes out on the other side of the pants. So this is basically optional if you don't want to have this roach on the leg of your palazzo pants. At this point you can just leave it like that, but I want mine to have roach at the bottom, so I can rock it either way I want. So after bringing it out, this is what I have. You can see how it looks like. See the difference. See the one that doesn't have the rope and see the one that has it. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the rope through the other leg of the pants as well. Okay, like I said, you can rock this palazzo pants in different ways, in 3 different ways. You can rock it as normal palazzo pants. You can tie the rope to make it tight, to make the leg look tighter, and you can also fold the lower part in. So after attaching the rope on the leg, this is what I have for the 2 pants. I'm just going to throw it on to show you how this looks on my body. I really like the finished look of this pant. I hope you enjoy it as well. So this is me just rocking it as a palazzo pant without tightening the rope on the leg. Okay, and this right here, I decided to tie the rope to give it a different look. As you can see, it looks so gorgeous as well. And this is me just rocking this as a joggers. So thank you so much for watching. Until I see you again in my next one. Bye.